Party people in the place to be. It is Monday's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with your boy Steele Roden and Big Flip Livingstone. Waiver-Wire special, some suspension news, and of course, big-time bets. Let's get right to it and let's pay these bills, people.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to your show, everybody. It is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, Monday edition, which is going to feature a bunch of spicy topics, including waiver wire targets. But there is also a lot to get to happening around the league. Matthew Tkachuk takes a suspension. Injuries are going on. Big-time bets are coming up. Mondays are always a big-time deal in the fantasy realm, Steele. We want to get to a lot of different topics, but we also want to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We appreciate it. That subscribe button on fire, Steele, and we see our supporters. We hope we continue to feed you some winners. That's going to come up at the end of the show because if you haven't been paying attention, Steele has been on an absolute tear with his picks. I'm starting to pick up a bit of steam. I'm just trying to keep up with the kid here. We'll get to that. But, we also have to make sure our fantasy listeners are taken care of as well. Steele has some good targets. I have some people I want to talk about. But also we need to talk about what happened here with Matthew Tkachuk. Obviously, you and I talked about it a little bit off air, Steele. He's been suspended for 2 games. There is the hole to fill for that. But also when it comes to taking something against a goaltender, we need to have a good look at this. And I don't know, 2 games is 2 games. I think it's fair. Let me know what you think about this situation as a whole. We'll get to our waiver wire targets and our bets as well. But let's start with the suspension of Matthew Tkachuk because it is news, and we have to talk about it.
Yeah, Matthew Tkachuk suspended for 2 games after a high stick to LA Kings goaltender Jonathan Quick. And we've seen this in the past from Jonathan Quick where he doesn't tread lightly to a lot of nonsense that happens, especially outside of his crease, but inside the crease more specifically. And that's where Matthew Tkachuk likes to put his body, especially on those situations, on a power play or on the on a 6 versus 5 man advantage with an empty net for them. So that's what he likes to do. That's his bread and butter right there, is going to the front of the net. And we've seen him do this time and time again, accidentally putting his stick, accidentally waving his stick, trying to get a loose puck. Right. For me, like you said, you and I have both watched this multiple times now. At first, I couldn't really tell if he actually got his stick, through the mask or through the cage. Obviously, apparently, he did. But then it was the matter of fact of what happened after that. The play was dead. The whistle goes. They drop the puck again. There's like 20 seconds left in the game. Where's Matthew Tkachuk? He goes right back to the front of the net, gets in the blue paint, in the crease. He's back in Jonathan Quick's grill. And like I said, Jonathan Quick is going to stand his ground, and he starts feeding him with the blocker, pushing him out of there. Yeah. And look, again, it was hard to tell from the bird view angle we got on the replay. Yeah. But that's Matthew Tkachuk's thing. He goes hard to the net, and sometimes he puts his stick, by accident into places it shouldn't go.
This is just the thing, and maybe it's because a little bit of Matthew Tkachuk's track record. We know he likes to grease it up. We know he likes to play with that edge. So maybe if it's another player, I can't help but feel we might be looking at this a little bit differently. The result is the result. 2-game suspension. We have to talk about it. And honestly, Steele, it impacts one of my waiver wire targets, which I think let's just get right into right now, because now you have to maybe shift things around a little bit, because I was looking at Carter Verhaeghe, who's now obviously not playing with Matthew Tkachuk and Alexander Barkov, but has still been on a very nice little tear, who I still think is worth a look in a lot of formats. 3 goals, 1 assist in the last 2 games. He's picking up steam. And, the last 2 seasons, aside from Alexander Barkov, he has been right there at the top of the Florida Panthers getting it done offensively. And
Yeah.
I still think he is worth a look, Steele. So as much as we're, the shuffle now that the Florida Panthers are going to have to go through because of Kachuk's 2-game absence this week, and this is what we're focusing on, right? People, this is a fantasy discussion. Week to week is how we're looking at this. I really don't care what this means for the Florida Panthers long term. I'm trying to win this money week by week. And if you haven't been paying attention, we're struggling a little bit in the fantasy league with our listeners. I'm going to keep it real, Steele.
Yeah, it's been hard.
But Carter Verhaeghe is worth a look. That's my first target of the week because he's only rostered in about 40% of both Yahoo and ESPN leagues. Worth a look. He's picking up steam. I think he's going to remain hot. I don't know who you're looking at, but why don't you hit me with your first target?
Yeah, a guy that is not as available in both leagues as Carter Verhaeghe, but I'm looking at Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders, who's been pretty hot to start the season on the second line with Anthony Beauvillier and Anders Lee. He's only owned at 48% on Yahoo, but he is owned at 75% on ESPN, so it's very less likely you get him on that format of a league. But Yahoo, he should be available in at least half of leagues. Anyways, 5 goals, 13 points. He gets pucks on net. You're going to get that categorical stack of shots if you're in a categorical league. Like I said, playing well alongside Beauvillier and Anders Lee, who Anders Lee is having a little bit of a comeback season as well after, trying to get back into the groove after that serious injury he dealt with. But what I really like about, Brock Nelson this upcoming week is the Islanders have four games this next week. They play the Flames and Rangers in a back-to-back to start the week Monday, Tuesday. And then they start the weekend off with a back-to-back against the Coyotes and the Blue Jackets, which those two games are very advantageous, like you so well put it. So again, a couple of tough games to start the week against the Flames and Rangers, but nonetheless, 13 points in 12 games. I expect nothing less than Brock Nelson to go out and put at least 3 points, 4 points this upcoming week.
Thank you for bringing up the schedule advantage. That's something that our listeners, and watchers on YouTube, by the way, if you're not doing either or, make sure you jump over into the other realm. Drop us a review, a subscribe. I see the feedback. Steele sees the feedback. We're trying to get better for y'all. Tell us what you want to hear and what you want to see, and we will provide it for you. I have a player that I want to talk about very quickly, Steele. Very quickly before we get to break, because I have a couple others, and this player just jumped off the page for me because of the opportunity he is now starting to get in Buffalo, and it's Dylan Cozens, rostered at only 6% in leagues. Go out there and add yourself a very, very good player who also has the pedigree. We've seen him get it done on the international level for Team Canada. He is now starting to get it done at the NHL level. And if you're not paying attention, he's moving up that lineup. He's playing 16, 17 minutes a night. He's now getting a shot on that second line with Alex Tuck. I love that. 4 goals, 4 assists for Dylan Cozens. He is an immediate must-add. We're not talking about must-adds in this chat. We're talking about good waiver wire ads, but Dylan Cozens is right at the top for me, Steele. I hope you're feeling that because I really do think this player just starting to get there in terms of his confidence and skill level.
Yeah, well, I just picked him up in our fantasy league actually a couple of days ago. He potted me a couple of assists over that 2-game span. But that's what I like to do. I don't like to keep guys like that on my team, but when I know they have an advantageous schedule, a couple back-to-backs, I'm going to pick him up for the 2 games. I'll drop him. Maybe 2 weeks from now, I pick him up again. That's what the waiver wire is all about. And he put up a couple of assists for me as well.
Perfect. And you know what? Thank you for saying that because that is what it's all about. 6%. We're not saying you root yourself into these players and stick to them. Keep your eye on the waiver wire. Pay attention. They're going to go hot and cold. Dylan Cozens is a young player. I'm not saying he's going to go on a tear for the rest of the year, but pay attention while he is hot. And also pay attention to while Simply Safe is paying attention and protecting your family. If, the holidays weren't a situation where you need to protect the fam, it is because crimes and burglaries and package thefts spike nationally. That's why our friends at Simply Safe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system this holiday season. That means more families across the country can feel safe, just like Steele and I's, who use it at his apartment and my house to keep our own family safe. Greater peace of mind this holiday season, and that is why we love it. The Simply Safe team keeps your family monitored 24/7 around the clock services that you can feel good about. In an emergency, professional monitoring agents use their Fast Protect technology exclusively provided by Simply Safe to capture critical evidence that verifies every single threat to your home to make sure you feel safe. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system that Steele and I recommend. Get 50% off Simply Safe at simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl. That's simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, though, go check out Game to Game NHL. Every moment, every performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers all the games across the league with local analysis that only Locked On hosts can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NHL, available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. And once again, Flip and I just want to say thank you to everyone tuning in for today's episode. Hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. We really do appreciate all the love and support out there. And Flip, if you don't mind, I'll kick it off again with the waiver wire targets here. I'm looking at a player who's on a very, very bad team. Very bad team, but he seems to have been picking it up the last couple of weeks and has found a home in that blue crease area in front of the net. And I'm looking at Andrei Kuzmenko of the Vancouver Canucks. 33% on Yahoo, 43% owned on ESPN. And like I said, a lot of his goals are coming from that blue paint right in front of the net area on the power play. He's on the power play unit one as well with guys like Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Bo Horvat, who are having spectacular seasons as well. But Kuzmenko's got 7 goals, 11 points, 37 shots on the season. And he's playing on that foreign line, I like to call it, of the second line of the Vancouver Canucks with Elias Pettersson and even Ilya Mikheyev, who's got 3 goals and 7 points on the season.
There you go.
So that line seems to be doing pretty good, even though they just blew another 3-0 lead to the Nashville Predators. Nonetheless, again, another very advantageous schedule for the Vancouver Canucks this upcoming week. They're starting on a 5-game road trip. 4 games this week, though. They play the Senators and Canadiens in a back-to-back midweek, and then they play the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins on the weekend. So starts off a little easier on this Canadian road trip to start with, but then on the weekend, they got a tough matchup against the Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins. So 4 games nonetheless, but a waiver wire that I would suggest a lot of people to keep their eye on.
Yeah, and Kuzmenko, hey, as much as you want to say they took their chance on this guy coming over from the KHL, he has looked very good. And now all of a sudden, the Vancouver Canucks, as much as they've had their struggles, this is one of those, advantageous situations for this organization because now no matter what, they have a little bit of a piece of talent here that if you don't re-sign him or whatever happens, you're going to be able to benefit off of his good play this season. Also, his chemistry with Elias Pettersson has been clear, and he can get it done, Steele. A lot of the questions were coming over from the KHL, can he produce? And he can get it done. So thank you for bringing up this player because, look, the Vancouver Canucks are up and down, and it's just when they're starting to look good, they look bad. One thing is clear, they can get it done offensively, and some of these fantasy pieces – as such, you just mentioned, are worth a look. One more guy that I want to talk about, actually, that's a lie. I have 2 more guys. I think I actually brought him up last week on the waiver wire, Steele, because he started to pick up steam and get a really good look in Tampa Bay, is Brandon Hagel. He is getting a look in that top line with Kucherov in point, and now he's heating up. 4-game point streak, 3 goals, 3 assists. You said this in the summer. This was a player that disappointed big time after his move to Tampa Bay, after some pretty good performances on a bad team in Chicago. Whenever I see a player put up good numbers on a bad team, I'm intrigued because just like you said, lots to like about Brandon Hagel's game. And now he's starting to prove it. Also, dual position eligibility, left wing, right wing. Lots to like about this player. And full stop. If anyone's getting a look with Nikita Kucherov and Brayden Point, literally, if it's the hot dog vendor from the third row, I'm taking a look at him, Steele, because take a look. 4-game point streak. Hello. I'm adding Brandon Hagel this week if he's available in my league. He's rostered at between 8 and 10% of most leagues here. Go out and take a shot on this guy right now.
Yeah, and I was actually taking a look at one of his most consistent line mates in Nicholas Paul as well. He's got 4 goals, 4 assists on the season, but again, not someone that I was targeting for this upcoming week. But yet again, Brandon Hagel has been on a tear of recently, like you said. This guy I want to mention real quick before I get to my final target of the week. Logan Couture, 28% on Yahoo. He is at 77% on ESPN, so very unlikely you get him on that format. But Yahoo, he's available, and he's got 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points on the season. He gets a ton of shots and hits as well. He's got 3 games this upcoming week, but the first one isn't until Thursday against the St. Louis Blues. So you could probably wait until midweek to pick him up if you'd like, if you want to wait. But they're on a 3-game road trip against the Blues, the Wild, and the Sharks, I believe it is. But yeah, they've got 3 games this upcoming week. So I just wanted to mention Logan Couture.
I appreciate you breaking down the schedules and how many times someone plays in the week. Maybe that's something we continue to focus on. We could even also, spend a whole episode on just strength of schedule, especially at the end of the season. Maybe not so much now, but games really do start to count after the All-Star break. Don't worry, people. We got your back. I was going to talk about this Edmonton Oilers goalie situation, Steele, because Jack Campbell has been pretty dicey, and Stuart Skinner's starting to look like that option. Then, of course, the Devils come back and they score a bunch of goals. So I wanted to just bring up one more situation, if you don't mind, in the crease, because Mackenzie Blackwood looked like, and there's not any news out on if he's going to be out, but Mackenzie Blackwood looked like he got injured in the last game.
Yeah.
Vitek Vanacek was already looking very good as the number 1 option in the New Jersey Devils crease. Devils starting to look good. If Mackenzie Blackwood does end up taking any time away from their starting lineup, Vitek Vanacek immediately becomes a number 1 must add, in my opinion. He's looked good. He stopped 64 of 67 shots over his last 3-game span. And as much as that timeshare was happening with Blackwood, Steele, that, I watched the play again twice. Looks like some sort of lower body injury with Mackenzie Blackwood. We know this goaltender has had injury issues before.
Yes,
I have to look at this much improved Devils club, especially after that comeback win against a Calgary Flames team that needed a win. I don't know about you, Steele, but I'm going to take a shot on Vitek Vanacek if he's out there in a couple of my leagues.
Yeah, if he's out there, you got to definitely take a look. But this guy, again, if we're talking about between the pipes, I've also got a goalie on my waiver wire list as a target. Karel Vejmelka of the Arizona Coyotes. Might be a little bit of a hot take here, but he's only owned at 13% on Yahoo. Only owned at 2.2% on ESPN leagues.
Bang.
And this is why I'm taking a look at Arizona, because they're about to embark on a 13-game road trip starting November 8th and ends December 7th. So they're going to be away from Arizona, it looks like, for the next month on a 13-game road trip. But nonetheless, they've got 4 games this upcoming week, and I expect him to get at least 3 of these starts. And like we've already seen this season, a couple of different injuries, but goalies have just not been the same to start, in the month of October and even so far in November. Nonetheless, 4 games this upcoming week. Looks like they're going to be in the New York City area. They're taking on the Buffalo Sabres, the New York Islanders, the New Jersey Devils, and the New York Rangers. The Devils and Rangers being that of a back-to-back. That's why I expect him to get at least 3 of those starts, because he is the better goalie than Connor Ingram at this point.
Yes.
And they can be a very surprising team. They have been surprising so far this season. They beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. They beat the Florida Panthers. They beat the Washington Capitals.
Yes.
A couple of other top tier teams, they lost in overtime or have been a 1-goal game as well. So every once in a while, they can put up a big surprise to some of these top tier teams. And I expect at least one win on this, this upcoming week 4-game road trip.
They're also so far on the year 3-4-0 on the road. So if they're about to spend a bunch more time on the road, if anything we've seen so far, they're comfortable. Also, maybe when they're playing at home, it's kind of like playing away because of that bootleg setup they have still.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation, which I think is kind of hilarious. But I don't want to go there because I also think it's very indicative of how kind of the NHL tries to operate sometimes. All good. We're not going there. Thank you for bringing up a bunch of very good waiver wire targets, people. Make sure you don't miss a single episode of Waiver Wire Monday by smashing that subscribe button. We have some big time bets to get to. Steele and I are picking up serious cash the last couple of days. So tap into the next segment. Steele, take us away.
Look, again, Flip, you already said it. Got to thank everyone out there for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We're going to get into big time bets right now. Real quick, though, Flip, maybe we can discuss this on tomorrow's episode or maybe off the air, but I just received a trade. Received a trade in the fantasy league.
Hello.
I would be acquiring JT Miller and Justin Falk for Steven Stamkos and Jared Spurgeon. So I have yet to actually review the stats yet. Justin Falk would be a great benefit for my blue line right now, but I'm very wary of losing a guy like Steven Stamkos. We won't get into that, but just wanted to throw that out there towards you so you can think about it.
I love the breaking news. I'm loving these angles. And I think actually, Steele, you mentioned this the other day. Maybe we should start breaking down some of these trade analysis because clearly some of the listeners out there, you did the buy low, sell high the other day. We're at almost 2,000 views on that episode because people need to know about these fantasy trades. So let's talk about your trades. I've had a couple of trades. We'll get to that later in the week. If you don't mind me kicking off Monday's picks, there's not a big board here, Steele, but I'm
only 3 games.
Yeah, only 3 games. And after the weekend you and I had, though, I'm excited. And let me just take away the first pick if you're okay with it. Monday's board only has the 3 games like you mentioned. Oilers Capitals is the late night dip, and I'm going to my first pick of the night, Alex Ovechkin. I know that your prediction for the 35 goal mark, I think still holds decent amount. 7 goals so far. I understand he's still on a very good pace, but I'm still seeing Alex Ovechkin having a lot of difficulty getting it done with the cast of characters around him. This just speaks to his ability. Anyway, preamble. He's hot right now. Give me Alex Ovechkin anytime goal. In his career against the Edmonton Oilers, we know Alex Ovechkin torches Canadian teams. 13 goals, 10 assists in 20 career games. The odd will be good for Alex Ovechkin anytime goal steal. That's my first pick of the night because also these Edmonton Oilers have been giving up a ton of softies. Yeah. And I'm thinking Mr. Ovi gets at least 1 on Monday night.
Yeah, can definitely see him scoring. Not sure if they get the win though after losing to the Arizona Coyotes.
I don't know about that.
I know. But that's I'm saving that for my lock of the night. My first pick of the night. I'm getting a little spicy with things. I'm feeling myself right now. I'm kind of hyped up right now about how this heater I'm on. And I'm taking the New York Islanders on the money line against the Calgary Flames at plus 110. Like you said, the Flames got a terrible loss against the New Jersey Devils the other day.
That was a tough one. They have not been
great of recent. Yeah, it's really tough for them. But again, the Devils are the hottest team in the NHL right now, besides either the Vegas Golden Knights or Boston Bruins.
First place.
They've been very surprising, to say the least. So I'm taking the Islanders on the money line, plus 110. I think that's some great odds right there.
Steele. I like to usually leave my lock of the night to the end, but it sounds like we're kind of crossing wires here a little bit. Islanders money line are my lock of the night. I am absolutely feeling this spot. I like me some Ilya Sorokin, but they've been the Islanders have been good at home this year. And this is only the second game the Calgary Flames have played away from home this season. They have played almost all of their games on home ice. And I think after the way things went down against that, New Jersey comeback or, blown lead, I should say, for the Flames, this is going to be a tough away game against a very pesky Islanders team. Give me the Islanders on the money line as my lock of the night. I'll finish off my third pick very quickly. Blues at Bruins. The last 4 games between these two clubs have gone under the number. I know that the Blues have struggled big time to score this year. I think this could be one of those neat and tidy 3-2, 2-1 kind of games. Under 6.5 goals is my third pick of the night. But yeah, Steele, I'm loving that Islanders angle, and that is my lock of the night. Hit me with yours.
Real quick before I let you know my next 2 picks. Josh Anderson of the Montreal Canadiens also suspended for 2 games for his boarding penalty against Alex Pietrangelo the other night. So he will be gone for the next 2 games. Breaking news, everyone. We're getting all the suspensions out there. Nonetheless, my final pick and my lock of the night. The Islanders on the money line, plus 110 was my first pick. My second pick, I'm actually taking the Blues on the money line at plus 150 here against the Boston Bruins. They've lost 6 in a row. Jordan Binnington's been awful. There's no question about that. At some point, they're going to have to turn it around. And, the Boston Bruins coming off a tough 2-1 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs, their second loss of the season. I think they could go on a little bit of a skid here for the Bruins. They're still a great team. I'm not saying they're going to drop off the top of the Atlantic, but I see the Blues after, they're going to get their first win after losing their last 6. But my lock of the night is coming from that Capitals-Oilers game. Taking the Oilers on the money line, minus 135. Those are my 3 picks and my lock of the night.
I absolutely love your breakdown of what the Bruins are about to go through because, one, bias, I want that to happen. They've just been too hot, Steele. At some point, there has to be a letdown. I know that's maybe, a bit of a cop-out way to look at things, but we're looking at things by trying to make some loot here. And you and I have been bringing up, I think you were the first one to say how good the Bruins have been. That's not staying consistent. They have just been way too good. So let's sprinkle on the opposite. Love it. I hope Monday is a big night. I have a good feeling about it, especially because we've been picking up steam. I got to pay these bills. You got to pay the bills. Things aren't cheap out west. Love these picks, my friend. Let's get it.
Look, we both started off like the Toronto Maple Leafs started off in the month of October. Started off slow. Like, again, in the month of November, we're starting to pick things up right now. We're starting to pick things up. Nonetheless, Flip, everyone out there listening, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your next listen, though, please go check out Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, instant recaps, big game reactions, and the take of the day, available on the Odyssey app and wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Remember to hit the subscribe and the follow button. Once you do, you'll get the latest episodes Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. Thank you so much again for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again on Tuesday.
Peace.